Hey, welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. In the series of pattern printing, so far we have seen so many patterns. In this video, we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So if we could carefully observe this pattern, we have some uniqueness in this pattern. So the uniqueness is that the left side we are having the highest number in this case which is 5, and to the going to the right side this value is decreasing and which is having in the shape like C, and these values are reducing and going to the value 1 here. So I hope you can able to understand this uniqueness in this particular pattern. So let us go ahead and see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So in order to print this particular pattern, we will divide this whole pattern into two separate patterns and print one after the other, and by combining both of them we can actually get the whole pattern. So for that I will divide this pattern into two patterns, which is one this pattern which is above pattern. Later we will print this below pattern, and by combining both of them we will get the whole pattern. So let us go ahead and first print this particular pattern. In order to print this particular pattern, we have 5 rows here, which is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, right? So for that reason, I will take a variable rows and I will assign these rows with 5 because we have identified 5 rows, right? So, and also if you could able to observe this pattern, we have spaces here before actually having these numbers, right? So we need to print spaces before actually printing the numbers. So for that, I will take a variable spaces in order to keep track of the spaces and print the spaces. So for now, what I will be doing is that I will take the value as rows minus 1, because in the first row, if you could able to observe, out of these positions, one position is occupied by a number and the remaining positions are spaces. For that reason, I am taking this as rows minus 1, because this particular value is assigned with this particular number. For that reason, 1 is left for numbers, remaining are spaces. So later what I will do is that in order to generate this many number of rows, I will use a for loop. So for I in range, now we need to generate a range of values. So based on this particular pattern, we need to generate those range of values so that we could use those values further in order to print all values. So for that, what I will be doing is that I will take this diagonal as a base, which are values 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and later we will use these values in order to print these whole values and patterns. So for that, in order to get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 values, I will start with rows which is having the value as 5, and I will go till the value 0 so that the range function will stop at 1. So after I will mention minus 1 so that the values will reduce on each value. So later, in order to know what values we are having in this I will just print the value I here. So when I print, we are getting the values as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which are exactly what we have expected. So now if you could compare these I values with this particular pattern, we can able to observe one pattern which is on each row, these values are starting with 5 and going till the value of I here. So in the first row, which is we are having only 5, so we are having single 5. The second row, we are having 5, 4, starting with 5 going till the value of I, which is 4 here. The third row we are having 5, 4, 3, starting with 5 and going till the value of I here. Like that, in every single row this pattern is repeating. So in order to print those values, what we generally do when we have repeated statements, we generally use loops, right? So that is what I will be doing now. In this outer for loop, I will use one more for loop in order to print those values on each row. So for that, I will use j in here, and in range. Now we need to generate the range of values. As we have discussed, every single line starting with 5 and going till the value of I. So for that, I will mention rows, which is the starting value for us, right? So, and we need to go till the value of I. For that, I am mentioning I minus 1 because it will go till the value of I and stop there. So now I will mention minus 1 because we need to get the value in the decreasing order, right? So for that reason I have mentioned minus 1. So later, instead of printing this particular I value here, I will print the value j here. So now if I execute this, we can able to get the values as 5, 5, 4, 543 and 5432, and at last we are having 54321. So now we have got the values. The only thing we need to do here is that we need to arrange these values so that we can able to get the whole pattern. So for that, what I will do is that I will mention an end statement here and be with space here. So by default, this print function having this end parameter as new line character. By mentioning this single space, we will get the values like this in a single line. So next what we will be doing is that instead of getting everything in a single line, we need to get the values in the new line as and when the values are reached to the value of 5 here. So for that reason I will mention one more print after completion of this inner for loop. So in the inner for loop we are starting with 5 and going till the value of I. As and when we reach to the value I will print a new line. So by simply mentioning print function. So now if I execute this, we can able to get the values like this, which are 5, 5, 4, 5, 4, 3. Like this, we are getting all the values. So there is only one thing we need to do here is that we need to print spaces before actually printing these numbers, right? So here we are having these spaces. As we have discussed previously, we need to print spaces before actually printing the numbers. So for that, as and when we enter into this outer for loop, I am printing the spaces. For that, this space is taking and I will multiply the spaces variable, and in the end I will simply mention with nothing. So by default this end having new line, so I don't want any new line. So for that reason I am mentioning simply with nothing. So as and when you printed those spaces and numbers, you need to do some modification to the spaces if you observe this pattern. So here the spaces are keep reducing on each iteration. So for that reason, after completion of this inner for loop, I will decrement these spaces on each iteration. So now if we execute this, we can able to get the exact pattern. That is what we have expected here. So now we need to follow the similar procedure what we have followed for the above pattern to get the below pattern, and we can able to get that. Before doing that, I will sincerely request you to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. And so far, if you found this video interesting, hit the like button so we can quickly go ahead and see how we can print this below pattern. So in order to print this below pattern, I will follow the same procedure like above. So first, in order to generate this many number of rows, I will use a for loop. So for that, for I will use k here in range. So now we need to generate the range of values. And the question is, what are the range of values we are generating in here? So as like above pattern, we have taken this base, this particular diagonal. We need to take a base in these particular values also. So the base that we will be taking is that 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the base that we will be taking. So by using this base diagonal, we will be printing all the values. So for that, I will start with 2 and go till the value of rows plus 1, so that I will ended up at rows which is the value of 5 here. So in this, what I will be doing is that in order to know what values in k, I will simply print the value k here. So we can observe we have expected 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have got the values 2, 3, 4, 5. So now what we will be doing is that in this pattern, if you could observe, we are starting with 5 value and going till the value of k as like in the above pattern. So in order to print that, we will use one more for loop for L in range. So as we have seen, it was starting with 5 and going till the value of k. So for that, I will use rows, and I will mention k minus 1 and minus 1. So by using this, we will start with 5 and go till the value of k. right? So now instead of printing K here, I will print L here. So now if I execute this, we can able to get the result as 5432, 543, 54 and 5. Those are the exact values that what we are expecting this pattern. So now we just simply arrange these values so that we can get the actual pattern. For that I will use end a space, and after completion of this inner for loop we need to have a new line. For that reason I am mentioning a new line. If I execute this, we can able to get the values like this, and we need to print spaces here before actually printing those numbers. For that, as and when we enter into this outer for loop, I will print space, and I will multiply this space with spaces variable, and in the end I will simply mention with nothing. And also we need to do one more thing, which is as and when this got completed, this particular each row is increased with a single space. For that reason here I will increase these spaces with 1. So now if we execute this, still we are having some kind of a problem with this space arrangements, because here we are actually using the spaces which what we have used for the above pattern. In order to get change this above pattern, to know what values we are having in the spaces, we will print the space here. So for that I am printing spaces here. So here we are having the value -1, but here we want a single space, which is we want the value in the spaces as 1 in order to get this particular single space here. So the difference we are having between 1 and -1 is 2, so that we need to increment these spaces to 2 so that we can able to get the value of spaces. For that reason, I have mentioned with 2. So now, if we execute this, we can able to get the exact pattern. That is what we have expected. Here, we are having the highest value in the C shape and going the right side to the lowest number, which is 1 here. So I hope you have understood this video. If you found any difficulty while understanding this, I sincerely suggest you to watch the video once again so that you can able to understand it clearly. So now what we will do is that we will dynamically take the value of rows from the user and print pattern accordingly. So for that I am using input. I am asking to enter rows here. So now if I execute this, it was asking to enter rows. If I give, let's say, value 7 here, we can able to get the pattern with 7 starting and keep reducing to the right side and reaching to the value 1 here. So now if I give one more number, let's say 9 here, so still we can able to get the pattern starting with 9 and keep reducing going to the right side and ended up with 1. So now I hope you can able to understand this logic to generate this particular pattern by any number given by the user. So I hope you have found this video interesting. If that is true, hit the like button. In the next video, we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern. This pattern is quite opposite the pattern what we have seen. Here, we are starting with 1 and the values are keep increasing the right side and having in this particular C shape, which is in the reverse direction. So we will see this pattern in the next video. So to stay updated, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all, so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.